Hey guys, I'm Ezra, and in this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video, I'm going to analyze some reports with my Undying in combination with Fellbeasts. So this video is more about going into reports and see if the army composition with Fellbeasts goes well. My first fight is with a Theoden. I have Fellbeasts 125 to be more precise, and I always include my Reapers into my team composition. My Fellbeasts have Pierce as a third special effect. I am in Season 5. We have this extra special effects over here, and I decided to go with Pierce to ignore the defensive stat for more damage. Then, my Reapers, of course, they have Heartseeker to get that juicy 50% chance to gain a follow-up. And I also have a few numbers of champions just to increase the damage of my army in total, but also to provide some nice damage mitigation with this. With the Challenger debuff, 50% next damage reduced from the enemy. This is such a huge skill, and I like how it pairs well with the Undying's mitigation overall. My Undying has this gear. This is my mitigation build gear with the Battle Axe with Concussion, then Superior Hauberk with Melee Vigor, and my Bone Mask with my Manipulate, and my Drums of Moria completely against dwarves. These are my talents, and yeah, let's get into it. So as you see, this Theoden is going with a full mounted unit composition. This time he doesn't have Bone Knights. I'm kind of curious why, since in Season 5 they work so well with Theoden. And yeah, this Theoden has decently good gear, the Cutlass with Melee Might, Scouts made with Deafness. Like, we can't complain about this gear. This is best gear for Theoden, and he has a build that makes sense. So overall, a meta build Theoden versus my Undying. Like, this is an amazing result against Theoden. And I do think that the Fellbeasts are very tanky because of this ability against the mounted units. Damage received from melee units, minus 60%. This is huge. And you know what? He might be weak against ranged attacks because of this. He eats 30% more damage from ranged attacks. But I think the Undying is doing an exceptionally good job in providing the survivability the Fellbeast need against ranged units. Specifically because of one talent, which is Nimbleness. This basically is taking away the weakness of the Fellbeast, like the 30% weakness over here. And this is why I decided, hey, it is time to include Fellbeast into my army comp. It just works. So this is the proof that this works, but let's see in later reports how it works against ranged units, because we yet have to see ranged fights. Here we have another Theoden fight, and this time Theoden has Bone Knights in his army comp. So our Fellbeasts are kind of weak against them, right? Considering they also have Dispersion. Alright. And Cavaliers with Traveling Light, of course, for the evade. That makes sense. And then Cataphracts with some extra tankiness for the first 3 rounds. Alright, that makes sense. Let's check out his gear. Cutlass with Quilted Armor. Alright, this is still like decently upgraded, and it gives damage mitigation for his melee units. Horseman's Helmet, always good. And then the Nightstar with Tactical Mark. Ooh, this is a hardcore counter against the Undying's, like what is it? Undead Commander. Allied unit 60% chance to evade all physical damage from the first 4 hits. If you think you haven't seen enough Theoden reports, here is one more. Let's check out his gear first. He has the Reach of the Riddermark with Might of Cavalry. I think one of the best weapons for Theoden, if not that is the weapon for Theoden. Quilted Armor, Focus Protection, Horseman's Helmet with Resolve, and the very rare Mayor's Reins. Wow. Like, I don't see this a lot. Wow. Plus attack for his mounted units and HP, and it has also Might of Cavalry. And his skills make sense, but still, this is the result. His marshals have Parry. Chance to gain damage received, minus 30%, the next damage dealt, plus 30%. I think it is safe to say that the Undying with Fellbeast is doing a decent job against mounted units. Here I am fighting a Gil-Galad, and this guy has amazingly good gear. Let's check it out. So he has the Elven White Knife with Might of Elves, like this is definitely Bis gear. Also a High Elf Hallberg, 42 of Elves. Yeah, this for sure is Bis gear. Cask of Submerged Isle. Like, one can't complain about his gear. Amazing gear, correct talent distribution. I like what this guy has done. Let's see, so we aren't losing this fight. He has lots of ranged units in his army. Our Fellbeasts aren't decimated, and we have done more damage to him than he has done to us. Even against an army with a heavy ranged comp, we can still hold our ground. And not just only that, we are kind of beating him, right? Consider the fact that I haven't equipped the Palantir of Orthanc with Pursuit. If we had Pursuit, Gil-Galad couldn't evade for the very first 3 rounds. Like, let me show you something. Gil-Galad, Kingly Kin. This talent might state first 2 rounds, elves get a chance of 70% to evade all damage. But in fact, it is 3 rounds. This is just a bug, or I don't know, like what the game developers intended by stating it like that. But after looking into the reports, it is first 3 rounds. Let me prove it. Here we are in the battle reports. I'm going to jump over to round 3 and show you that Kingly Kin still works in round 3. When I scroll to the bottom, you will see that Sentinel was granted avoidance by Gil-Galad's Kingly Kin. So that skill is still bugged. This is proof that it works till round 3. But yeah, imagine if we had the Palantir of Orthanc with Pursuit, this would have changed a lot more. Now here is another fight against Gil-Galad, and this time this guy has this gear, Milkwood Bow, that makes sense, High Elf Hallberg, always makes sense with his Elven units, High Elf's Helmet, 42 Death Elves, and Silver Harp of Rivendell. And all the right talents selected as well, but he has a more heavy ranged unit comp. Now that makes even more sense against us and Felbeasts, and this is the result he has achieved. Like, I must admit that we have lost this fight, but keep in mind that we are still lacking Palantir of Orthanc with Pursuit. That will change the outcome of this battle by a lot. Alright, and here we are fighting a Gandalf the Grey in his meta build. Let's see what he has to offer. He has Dunedains with the Traveling Light for the evade. I see, that makes sense. And his Guard of the Tower, Divide and Conquer, his main tanks, so to speak. And his Sharpshooters with Dispersion, of course. So, this is the result we have achieved. Let's check out his gear. Alright, he could get some better gear, but this is still, like, the report is speaking for itself. He has his meta build. He has his Against Evil Side build. Champion of the Light, so he is dealing a lot of damage against my Reapers with this. He is stunning me in the first round, and also he is stunning me every 3 rounds. Alright, like decently spec'd Gandalf. But still, this is the result. Now let me show you one more report against the Gandalf the Grey player. This guy has even better gear than the last Gandalf the Grey player. So let's check it out. He has the Carver with Smite, Bis item in regards to purple gear, Elven Cloak, I think in regards to golden gear this is Bis 2 for him. He just needs to further increase the strength of it. Trapper's Hood with Hysteria. Like amazing gear. You can't complain about the gear, it all makes sense. And he is moving heavier for evade, so he tries to dodge the attacks of my Undying. Mithrandir, of course, Convino, of course, that makes sense. He's got a stun. Like, first round he's stunning me, and every 3 rounds he's stunning me too. And of course, High Alert, just in case he is facing a Witch King. But in this case, he faced an Undying. And this is the result. He has an even heavier ranged composition with Sharpshooters, of course they got Dispersion, and he of course has Sentinels in his army comp. If he had Bow Knights, I think he could have done more damage, but it is what it is. This is the result, and look at like the big difference. Here we are fighting a Dwalin, and let's check out his gear first. So Dwalin has the Hammer of Moria with Might of Dwarves. It is a good weapon, but I think that Dwalin pairs much better with the Axe of Khazad-dûm and Cleave. But yeah, good gear. Still that's a good gear. Warborn Battleplate, always nice to have. Might, defense, and speed for his melee units, and extra defensive stats with the special effect. The old cast, yeah, like, I wonder, maybe he didn't have anything that makes more sense than this. And then Erebos Pride. So yeah, he has a few spots which he could increase, but the skills are correctly distributed, and this is what we have achieved with our Fellbeasts. Let's have a look at a report where I think the Undying should do worse. It has come to my attention that whenever I fight against commanders that deal a ton of damage by themselves, I kinda tend to lose those fights. And here I am fighting against T2 Aragorn. And I was curious, like, how did this happen? Usually I tend to lose against commanders that deal lots of damage. And he has, of course, specialized into Aragorn, dealing the damage himself with these talents over here. Respect 0 and Respect 3 skills are completely correct. And yeah, this is his gear. Battle Axe with Flay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Quilted armor with focus protection. Full helm with melee vigor. And Iflane with Mend. So yeah, this Aragorn is decently geared and has the correct talents skill. And this is the result. So the Undying is kinda good with Felbeasts against this kind of damage. Now let me finish this video with one last report. Here I am fighting a player called Scion of the Elder. And by the way, hello Scion, I really like your content, please keep going. I'm looking forward to see more of you. Finally, we see a Balin with high-end Retaliate gear. What do I mean by that? Look at the gear of Balin. Mattock of the Iron Hills with Retaliate. Whenever his melee units get attacked, they counter with an auto attack. And whenever that happens, these guys heal themselves with a 30% chance, if you have maxed it out, with a 35% chance of regenerating 150% HP, which is huge. And they always heal whenever they attack. So Retaliate makes sense because whenever they get attacked, they counter attack and trigger this healing effect once more. So his army has a lot of self-sustain over here, with his Guardians being his main tank units. And they get supported by the special effect of the Sentinels. Very strong mechanic in Season 5 right now. As soon as he selects Rise Up, this, unfortunately this isn't formulated in a right way. It states Commander Army, damage dealt plus 50%, when the army is comprised of units of 3 different races. This is kinda misleading. In truth, you aren't just increasing the army's damage by 15%, but also the commander's damage. So game devs, when you're seeing this video, please fix this description. It isn't correctly displayed over here. So his Guardians get a 15% damage increase by the Sentinels. The same goes for the Cavaliers. They too have the effect Rise Up. So a total damage boost of 30% for his Guardians. His main tanks, his main damage dealers over here. And these guys are so tough to kill. They retaliate. They get protected with this against fire damage and against physical damage. In addition, Balin deals damage by himself. Wow. With Durin's Blood, Whirlwind, All In, and also he ignores defenses by 50%. And also, his Guardians get 5% damage mitigation while they increase their own damage by 5%. Wow. And also, he is nullifying healing. There is a reason why I put Balin on top of the foot chain on my good side tier list. And this guy is getting maximum value out of his Balin. Like the gear, everything makes sense. Superior Hauberk just to get some additional fire protection, plus defensive stats, lots of might. His Iron Bassinet, amazing stats. Arrow suppression, first 3 rounds against enemy ranged units, damage dealt minus a certain percentage. That makes sense against ranged units, so Imagine if he had another special effect against my army comp, since I don't have ranged units, he would deal even more damage against me. But coming back to his gear, I still have to show you his accessory. So Erebor's Pride, yes, it makes sense. Lots of HP for his guardians, infantry troops benefit by this a lot, but above all he has this. Arid Luin Formation, dwarves damage dealt plus a certain percentage, and this scales with might! This is such a great item to have for Balin. Like, wow, amazing gear. Big shout out to Sign of the Elder again. He is getting the maximum value out of his Balin. Now here is my final judgment about the Undying with Fellbeasts. Do I recommend that army composition? Yes, it totally works. If you have the economy, definitely try it out. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing. I see you guys next time.